What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Our ball knowers, our lovable parasocial pals running our subscriber chat up. It is great to see you all again, and it is great to be joined on yet another Insider Pod with arguably one of the portal gods in terms of getting you the news you need when you need it. Her name is Talia Goodman, and she is with On3. Talia, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Excited to keep the portal talk going as long as we can get it, I guess.
Straight up, like this year felt like if I could sum it up in like a sentence, it would be the cost of the brick went up. Have you had like a running theme for how to describe effectively what your job has been for the last 2 months?
It has been no sleep at all. Like I feel like, especially like it's my final season too. So between finals and doing all the portal stuff, I'm suffering from a severe lack of sleep right now. But it's been interesting and fun just having these conversations with coaches on how much the market has really changed. Like that's been a lot of my focus, is just kind of figuring out where do we go from here and why this year is such an outlier. So it's been interesting.
So part of why I wanted to bring you on for the subscriber tier is that it lets us kind of dive into like the process and geek out, as I like to geek out, on like the actual inner workings of the journalism of it all. And for you, you occupy a really interesting space, like the emerging insider class of women's basketball. And I'm curious, there is a very well established hierarchy, but also workflow within men's sports when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? Like the NBA, men's college basketball, the NFL, etc. How has it been being one of the first college insiders, kind of getting a foothold in the door, cultivating sources, and also having your phone on 20 hours a day potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I always say this, and I think I just got really lucky. Like when I was a freshman in college, I didn't really know. Like I knew I wanted to be in sports, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't think I'd end up in women's basketball, and then I got put on the Indiana women's basketball beat, and they were like by far the best team on campus. So I was so lucky to be able to cover them. And I think just covering women's sports in general. I did women's soccer, I do volleyball at IU as well a little bit, and so I think just covering women's sports, I fell in love with it pretty much immediately, and realized kind of the first off season after covering women's basketball here that there is a lack of that Shams or Woj, whoever it might be in the men's game. There's a lack of that on the women's side. And I was kind of talking to my dad about it, who covers men's basketball. When portal season came around, there just aren't that many resources that are, comprehensive and helpful. And there's no one really breaking that news. Like people will pop in at times and get the big ones for sure, but there's no like comprehensive coverage of it. So I was like, all right, I got some time. I have an internship that's not taking a lot of my time up. I'll try to get into this and make some connections and figure out, like, is this really what I want to do? Because I never thought I'd be doing breaking news, to be honest with you. But it's a lot of fun, and I've had fun. Kind of my goal has been always to help grow the game. And I feel like getting information out there is always key to growing the game. Like you want accessible information 24/7. And so I think that part of it has been really cool.
Yeah, it's really neat just sort of seeing all of it evolve from a who wants to get in standpoint, right? Because I think there's a different discussion happening in the WNBA right now where, a Shams is like parachuting in because CAA or Wasserman or someone wants to utilize his audience to break their news. But I feel like in the college realm, because there's not like the men's guys are not jumping over as much, you're still getting a lot of your information the old school way, like through the beat writers that, cover the sports, and there's not so much a national thing. And On3, where you work, I find so interesting because that's such a bread and butter component of men's college sports, because it is the niche of recruiting news and transfer news and coaching carousel news. I'm curious just how you've seen the appetite for women's sports start to build, and like where On3 kind of entered that fold, because they're ahead. I mean, relative to 24/7 or rivals in terms of having a dedicated insider for women's basketball in this way.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And like, I didn't even know this was really going to be my full role when I took the job at On3. I never thought I'd be doing recruiting. And that has been a really interesting challenge for me. It's a lot different dealing with, high school girls than it is even college girls. So that's been fun. And there's really no one that does that at like a at a consistent level, right? There's no one who's covering women's basketball recruiting like that. So it's been fun getting out there and being able to have this. It's not even only breaking news, but like intel and talking to the people and figuring out where they're at. Like that's something that Joe Tipton, Hayes Fawcett, Jamie Shaw, they've all done so well in the men's sports realm at On3. And so it's been pretty easy to kind of catch on to their not template, but the way that they do things. And it's always been like, even with the transfer portal tracker, like my goal has always been to bring over the resources that men's basketball has over to women's basketball. So I think it's been such an interesting like challenge for me trying to do all of those things at once, but it's been fun and it's moved really fast. And there is definitely an appetite for it. Like I've noticed even with, obviously you get it with the portal stuff because everyone cares about the portal right now, but with recruiting, I think I was surprised how much people are, truly invested and appreciate getting that information before a player officially announces their commitment. Like they want to know, was my team in on this kid and just struck out? Like they want to know how many times that happens.
Yeah. And with women's basketball too, I'll give it to our fan base, man. They love mess and we love mess. And so like, and that's what the portal is mess in that respect. And it was interesting this whole year because you started to hear rumblings like all the way back to February, early March of like coaches starting to text players and tamper. No, I think the coaching, sorority, brotherhood community isn't in the place yet where like the dam is going to break. And I talked to Mitch Northam about this, where like coaches are going to openly like rat out other coaches for tampering. But like there is a lot of this like subtweeting that you're seeing about like, I know you're trying to get one of my people, or you're like you've got someone DMing my player about this. It's already the Wild West. From the conversations you've had with people, how much more Wild West has it gotten this year in particular?
A lot because of the money aspect of it and the ability for teams to front load money through their collectives and then pay with the rev sharing money that they're going to get. So the money this is such a unique case because collectives are kind of being thrown out. So this is like the last time for them to, they have that money to use. If they don't use it, it's gone. So they want to use all of that money. And so they have a lot more. And so I've always, like I've said this year, like, if you're a player and you want to get, what you're worth or an inflated sense of what you're worth, this is the year to enter the portal. It is like, if that's what you're after, maybe you won't end up in the best spot, but if that's what's important to you, like this is the year to do it. And I think a lot of players don't have that mindset, but a lot of them do. And I get it. Like I get wanting to make the money that you're worth while you can, because especially we see it in the pros, there aren't a lot of roster spots. And even if you get one, you're not making a lot of money. So I completely understand it. I do think there needs to be a cap on it, but that's a whole separate conversation. But yeah, it was crazy this year in terms of there certainly every year is tampering. And so, yeah, it was maybe a little less behind the scenes this, like, I think you're right. There's a little more, subtweeting at some people this year, which I'm sure the fans, like you said, they love the drama. So we definitely saw that. But I think the craziest part of it is just the sheer amount of money that is being thrown at these players who are maybe averaging 5 points per game.
Yeah. And it almost mirrors what happened in the W with free agency this year, knowing that the windfall of the TV deal is going to come. So everyone goes into free agency now or signs a 1-year contract if they're in free agency. And then we get this rev share piece, but also the underrated storyline, I think too, is a little bit of a market reset coming from the high school level with Aaliyah Chavez, and much of the discussion that was made about the NIL package that she received at Oklahoma, and the discussions of, what Texas was or was not willing to try and offer her as the top player. And then you consider also what UCLA is handing Sienna Betts and what USC is handing Jazzy Davidson. And it feels like the players that were currently in college took notice of that. And the agents took notice of that and said, okay, yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of that. And I think a lot of that, I respect the coaches and how they're doing things, but the coaches are setting these numbers too. It's like, if you're overvaluing someone, then everyone else has to overvalue. Like when this first started, like that's how it begins, right? Someone sets this value that, post players we're in dire need of them. Everyone is. So we're going to overpay them by like 200 grand. And then everyone has to do that because if you think these players aren't talking about what they're getting with each other, like, you're dead wrong. They're all talking to each other about it, and they're using each other as baselines. And agents are doing the same thing, like they all are. So
Yeah.
it's, if you're able to pay more as a program and you're offering more, you're setting that line there. And so it's tough to come back from that. And there are some schools who have their boundaries and they won't pay more than such and such for a player, and maybe they won't get the one they want, maybe they will because of, they're a name brand or whatever it might be. But it makes it tough on some of these schools that don't have the money, but got to find it.